there's a gap between skilled workers and workers needed in manufacturing. So we are securing the future of manufacturing through a new generation of skilled professionals. We're enabling fresh perspectives and ideas to fuel technological advancements. And then we're contributing to economic prosperity by sustaining a robust manufacturing workforce. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so for when it comes to like innovation drivers, I think that it's important to just make sure your company is being very innovative in what you're doing. That's what's going to bring in the new audience. If what you're presenting to the public is kind of an old way of going about doing things, not introducing new technologies into your company, it's going to have an impact on people wanting to come to your company and also to wanting to stay at your company.
There's a mismatch between job requirements and available skills due to technological shifts. There is a mass retirements of experienced workers leading to a talent vacuum. So with that being said, a lot of the younger generations think that factory work is dirty, it's dull, it's boring, and it's not anymore. The technology is advancing. There's a whole lot of different things you can do at this point. And there's high demand roles and significant workforce to fill critical technical and specialized positions.
Yeah, and I think everybody in the marketplace is seeing this. They're seeing the fact that there's a gap in all of our positions, in our engineering positions. People are struggling to even hold regular employees, but I think it's a very critical point in like the engineering side of things. People have been told their entire lives that they can go into engineering, right? But it's always been promoted towards maybe an oil field or some other sector that's not directed towards manufacturing. And one of the things that we need to do is redirect that focus back into manufacturing and really make sure that we're doing what it takes to close like things like this retirement gap and get the people up to speed.
So there's a need for collaboration between manufacturers and schools. So connecting classroom learning with practical industry applications for job-ready workforce. Introducing students to diverse and appealing manufacturing career paths, and ensuring education aligns with current manufacturing demands to prepare job-ready graduates.
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of one of the first tangible slides. It's one of the first things where I'll kind of get into the ecosystem. And it's because there's not awareness, especially when it comes to somebody getting out of college. Most people don't even know what they're going to do, right? So anybody who's going the extra mile to put more awareness into the colleges, middle schools. I mean, I think you can go even as young as elementary schools. Now, I don't know how if it's feasible for them or not, but I think it's definitely worth the investment, even all the way back into middle schools. And we'll dive a little bit more into how you can actually accomplish this a little bit further along.
The perception of manufacturing as dirty or outdated or an outdated industry. There's a misconception challenge, which is overcoming stereotypes by showcasing modern, clean, and high-tech manufacturing environments. A way to change that is highlighting innovation, sustainability, and the use of advanced technologies in manufacturing. And then making it appealing to the youth. So illustrating the exciting and dynamic aspects of manufacturing careers to change outdated perceptions. So people aren't really standing on a line and just taking things off and putting things back on and waiting for it to come back around anymore. You can do things like programming, CNC machining, and that is more appealing to the newer generations.
Yes, and this is one thing that we really have the advantage of as a company, because what we do is already, I'll say, a sexy part of the industry, right? Automation is a more appealing part of the manufacturing process. And it's just because we have things like robots, we have things that are performing motion tasks. We are able to, we're designing things from scratch, from nothing to something, right? And that's very appealing to a lot of people to be able to create things, and gives them a lot of purpose. And whereas we're lucky in this, there's still a ton of different ways where companies that don't have such a high impact type of career path, you can make that look very appealing. So let's say, for instance, you're doing, chemical compounds with resins. You could have some type of like chemistry lab or some type of testing facility where you're allowing the younger generation to come into that facility. And even if it needs to be a separate facility for more of the training lab that can promote a safe work environment for the younger generation, I think it's highly worth it to be able to show those things. And if there's anything exciting within that really shows just shows something that flashes, something that moves, something that has some type of like chemical reaction, anything like that will be appealing and really pique the interest of individuals.
So there's a lack of awareness about modern manufacturing technologies and career. So providing insights into cutting-edge tools and processes used in contemporary manufacturing. Showcasing a wide range of roles from design and engineering to data analytics and automation. And then there's the educational outreach, so like collaborating with schools to introduce curriculum elements that reflect current industry trends.
Yeah, and so when it comes to educational outreach, I think this is a huge part that a lot of companies are missing out on. In our area, we have Toyota, and they're probably one of the best examples of having educational outreach programs. They're embedded into our local community college. They're embedded into some of our technical type of high school courses that we have. And so they're grabbing a hold of students before they're even leaving high school, and they're getting exposure to our local community, right? And everybody in our community knows of Toyota. And the reason why is because they're going above and beyond to make sure that they're integrated into the schooling process.
There's a disconnection between classroom learning and real-world applications. Enhancing education with hands-on experiences and projects that simulate real industry challenges. So that goes in with like Toyota. Toyota actually takes our high school kids out of class, they bus them to the facility, and they train them on different lines and how to do it. They're fostering partnerships that allow educators to learn about current industry practices, and they're organizing site visits and talks by industry professionals to bridge the gap between theory and practice.
Yeah, and this will take us a little bit more into the ecosystem of being able to do this. You really need to not just do one thing, but you need to create like an entire environment where you're trying to do a touch point on every little thing that you can, right? That you're doing the speaking engagements, like Toyota would be coming to the school, or maybe they're doing the programs with the colleges, with the high schools, and another big one is having embedded training facilities, right? I think the embedded training facilities is such a huge thing that's missed out on. I think that this could really link up with some like co-ops, some internships, and workforce programs like that. And I think this is really important because this gives people the ability to learn particular things about your company and be able to get their foot in the door. Your wages to them could be less. If you look at like how a lot of unions do it, maybe a union pays $28, $38 an hour, right? An apprentice comes in, they start at $14 an hour. Well, I know when I was young, for $14 an hour, I would have been happy to go into an industry, start to learn something. However, I grew up in an environment where I wasn't really exposed to those type of opportunities. I didn't really know about those opportunities. Like the small glimpse of that I got is I was in one of the technical programs, and at one point in time I was doing a little bit of auto body stuff, but I didn't really get much exposure to that, nor did I really get taught a pathway into how this can become a career for me, and a lucrative career that's going to help like support my life and family.
Addressing the skills gap. So offering practical learning opportunities to develop relevant skills in students. There's specialized programs, so creating tailored training paths for high demand roles within this manufacturing sector. And then apprenticeships, introducing structured apprenticeship programs to impact industry specific skills. Inspiring and attracting future talent. So role model exposure, introducing students to successful young professionals in the manufacturing field. I don't know if anyone was here for Ray Ripple's talk this morning, but she is doing this and she is doing a great job at it. She is someone to look up to in that aspect. Engaging experiences, organizing interactive events like workshops and factory tours to captivate young minds. I think it is a very good idea if you work in a big company to try to get them to have a day where they do bring kids in high school to your facility and you have a safe way to show them everything we do. Manufacturing is not really presented as what it is today, online or in movies or whatever. Kids aren't seeing the real deal. And then innovation showcase, highlighting exciting projects and breakthroughs achieved within the industry.
Yeah, so this is something I really didn't touch on. We're considered influencers in our industry because we're creating content for our industry, for the automation sector, for the manufacturing sector. We're doing that through different social media platforms, YouTube, on our website, things along those lines. And so this is something that we are currently doing and that we will continue to do and implement into our company. Currently we're doing a lot of it through social media because we feel like it has the highest impact for the biggest ROI, right? We're reaching the most amount of people with the least amount of effort. And so this is why this is one of our strategies, and we're still a somewhat younger company. Into the future, we will be integrating all of these things, and when I say ecosystem, I plan on taking ecosystem to a completely another level. I anticipate our company will have a campus-based type of ecosystem, and we'll take this all the way to daycares, but the ecosystem for this discussion, is really revolved around how can we educate people in a full loop where every single person's involved in this, because there's always such a struggle and communication gap when it comes to the company and the schools, right? The company doesn't know who to contact at the school. It's a foreign, a lot of times it's a foreign concept or interaction, and also just not even knowing the process of or the individual, right? You might have a contact at the school, but that contact at the school might not be the only contact at the school. So for us, we do stuff with our local community college, and I'm on the board there. I've got direct teachers that I communicate with, and then I have also the directors of the automation division of their school. So I have all these different touch points of different contact people that I can reach out to bridge this gap of how can I get connected. So I may directly communicate with the teacher themselves of, hey, whenever you have something that you want me to come in and speak about, I'll be there. Just let me know when you need me. And so having that form of communication with the schools is part of that process of bridging this gap and creating this ecosystem. And a lot of this goes deeper into the fact of maybe you need to set up drive folders where you have cloud-based drives that you can share between each other. We're currently doing this with our vendors. We have vendors that are supplying things to us, and they have drive access where we share content back and forth as if we're an internal company. And you need to be able to do this through your educational processes as well, so that way if you do an apprenticeship, a co-op, that maybe the student could work on this project at school for a project grade, but then they can also go to the work environment and kind of continue on that same project and be part of whatever their work scope is.
Aligning education with industry needs and collaborating with educators to integrate relevant manufacturing concepts into school curricula. Sharing insights with schools about emerging skills needed in the manufacturing workforce, and developing training programs that directly address industry challenges and requirements.
Yeah, and this is something that's definitely on the employer side of things. You guys know what you need in your company. You know what skill sets are missing and what job positions that you need. Therefore, you can construct your own internal training programs and also request more out of the colleges for particular skill sets. Especially in a community-based and community-type colleges, you can very easily put in special requests and get modifications to curriculums to help promote, bring the proper people with the proper skill sets into your company. And you know, maybe they won't do a full curriculum change. If you're a big enough organization, they will. They'll do full curriculum changes, and they'll do, this is a Toyota program. So for Toyota, if you go through their Toyota degree program, it has set classes, set electives, and this is the course you take through that program to get this Toyota version of the same degree.
Inviting professionals to share real-world experiences and industry trends with students. Offering students a chance to interact with role models who have succeeded in manufacturing, and allowing students to ask questions and gain valuable insights into manufacturing careers.
Yeah, no, I just think it's important that you're making sure that, you know, you're taking insights from individuals within your company. You know, this being your expert insights, to be able to take that to the colleges. You know, where I'll see an issue with this is you'll have an HR manager who's going to these hiring events, and the HR person is maybe the person who only hires for admin tasks. And the HR manager that's going to go for your HR tasks is not going to be able to hire as well as somebody who's hiring for the engineering. Right? Sometimes there's a disconnect internally with who we have front facing the public and what the actual requirement is of the company. Yeah. So y'all on the last slide, we wanted to open up kind of a mid Q&A if anybody has any questions at this point in time. Anybody?
Gaining hands-on experience, so providing students with practical exposure to manufacturing processes and technologies. Skill development, offering opportunities to learn specific skills through on-the-job training. And career path exploration would be enabling students to explore potential manufacturing career paths before committing to a field.
Yeah, I think this gets, kind of goes back into the apprenticeship type of programs. I think people need to get hands-on down, so we come from the engineering, we come from the manufacturing on the floor. There's a lot of office back-end engineering work, but if people are not getting out there and turning a screwdriver and operating, the tools of the trade, whether it be, PLC programming software, robotic teach pendants, whatever it may be, if people are not getting their hands on with these, another disconnect that's there is the education system has some JoBot as their robot that they're using to train the people on, and you guys have FANUC robots, right? So learning on a JoBot and learning on a FANUC robot are two completely different things, and if they're not getting that hands-on exposure with that user interface and with that actual robot and the functionality of that robot, then they're not going to get near the same experience as they would if they had the real thing.
Practical challenges is engaging students in solving real industry problems through project-based learning, encouraging innovative solutions and out-of-the-box thinking among participants, and rewarding students' achievements and showcasing their work to potential employers.
Yeah, this is a part of the ecosystem that I think is very important. I think there's not enough internal certifications of employees, and that's not for certification for the sake of you need this certification to do this thing. It's more of an employee recognition and it having some weight to it, right? So it should be some employee recognition, and also with that degree, or not with that certificate, maybe some raise comes with it. Maybe you have the opportunity to go into another position. Let's just say, for instance, somebody wants to become a robotics engineer, okay? But right now they're currently an operator. what's the pathway to get to that robotics engineer. You can set them a clear, defined path on get these certifications. Let them be, if you have the training facilities internally, let them be your own internal training facilities. Or if you don't have the capability of setting up your own training centers, send them to FANUC, right? Pay for them to go to school, and they're going to be highly appreciative of that. And then FANUC's also going to handle that accredited certification. You know, for us as a company, one thing that we want to do is we want to be able to offer the same type of certification that FANUC offers. So when you see an Elite Automation certification, you know that means something. Oh, this guy's a level 3 PLC programmer. Oh, this guy's a level 7 PLC programmer, right? People will then have, the market will eventually have an understanding of what this level of skill set this individual has based on the certification that they have. But going back into that, that makes that employee more ready or more willing to want to grow and feeling more confident that they have a pathway to grow within the organization they're in.
So community engagement, collaborating with nearby educational institutions to build strong local connections, utilizing existing educational infrastructure to facilitate collaboration, and focusing efforts on schools that align with manufacturing goals and values.
Yeah, for this, it's like if you currently have your own training facilities, or if you don't, you should, I think that everybody should have their own internal training facilities. I always lean towards like robotics training facilities because that's really our core focus of what we do. But it doesn't really matter what you're training for, right? Whatever skill set that you're needing is what your training facility should be set up for. And the training facility that you're using to train your existing employees, can that be adaptable to a younger audience, right? I know that a lot of companies say, hey, you can't work here until X age, right? Maybe it's, it's probably 18. Maybe they have to have a GED as well. However, a lot of that is also driven, and this will apply more to smaller companies because they have a little bit more leeway, but any big company that's listening, there's ways around this as well. A lot of this is also driven by insurance. That's the reason why you can't do that. You want to hire somebody that's 16, here's your new premium on your policy, okay? One potential workaround with that, and I think this applies to some big companies as well, is can you either get a custom plan where you have a training facility, maybe people go to an individual training facility where maybe some of the same hazards are not there, or can your organization branch off another company that is like your training division of your company where it can have its own insurance packages, so that way it doesn't affect the entire company's insurance packages, and you can bring younger people into that facility. Now, that might seem like something that's extreme, but whenever you're trying to create this full ecosystem, we have to work around governments and policies and insurances, and some of these big companies that if you wanted to change your insurance package from 18 to 16, it could be millions of dollars a year. And the cost difference just by wanting to bring in younger people into your industry, or into your company.
Establishing clear objectives and outcomes, defining shared goals between manufacturers and schools to guide collaboration efforts, setting qualifiable objectives to track the impact of engagement initiatives, and aligning objectives with broader strategies for fostering a skilled manufacturing workforce.
Yeah, so this kind of goes back on what we was touching on a little bit ago with certifications. That's for that side of things. But how do you also track things internally to see if this initiative is actually having an impact on your company, right? You need to be observing how many people are coming into our apprenticeship program, how many people are leaving or graduating from our apprenticeship program, who's leaving, why are they leaving, and just ensuring that you're tracking that progress so you can see the actual impact on your company, and that you're just, so many apprenticeships don't ever grow. They just kind of always stay the same size. We offer 15 apprentices every year, and they've been doing that for 30 years. And that's something that really needs to shift. How do you take that apprenticeship program and put a growth metric on it? If you want your company to grow, your apprenticeship program should also be growing at that same rate. If not, then you're outgrowing this other sector or this other division of your company, or initiative, I should say.
So tailoring engagement activities to various age groups, designing activities to match the cognitive and developmental levels of different age groups, using interactive approaches for younger students and more in-depth experiences for the older students, providing a seamless educational journey that builds upon previous engagement experiences.
Yeah, this goes back into the part where I feel like we have it easier. We can show just about any age group a robot and automated system, and they're going to be pretty wowed by what it's doing. However, there's so many things that you could do, like, and you might have to adapt. This is not exactly what we do here, but it's similar. So I'll just go back to like a plastics company, and maybe you're formulating resins, and you're mixing different chemical compounds. Is there something that you could do to ignite the interest, right? Can you mix some chemical compounds and they change colors? Can you maybe mix them wrongly and safely ignite them into a fire? You know, they're going to say, this is what you do, this is what happens if you do it wrong. Poof, there's a fire. Oh, that's kind of cool. You know, that's what the kids are going to think. So there's a ton of different things that we can do to make these non-super interesting things interesting.
Allowing students to engage directly with tools, machines, processes used in manufacturing. That's a big one. In order to gain people's interest, they're going to want to be hands-on. It's hard to look at something that everyone says is boring and think, oh, I'm going to like this. So actually getting your hands on machines and learning in that way will help that skill gap. Teaching practical skills such as 3D machining, CNC machining, and automation basics. And sparking interest in manufacturing by showcasing the fun and creativity behind technology.
Yeah, this kind of dives back into the same thing. You just got to get people's hands on. Putting a teach bin, even if we show a kid an automated piece of equipment, they'll be interested. The interest will last 5 minutes, and they'll say, okay, cool, now what? So then when you hand them the teach pendant or the programming software and say, hey, press this button and see what happens, then we have a much more longer peak of interest, right? We can keep them entertained for years and not minutes. And you can do this through all different types of industries and doing different tests with different, going back to plastics, different compounds, or testing in different ways, and in a vacuum atmosphere, in a high pressure atmosphere, just implementing new variables to what they're doing to just keep them interested. Even if it's not exactly applying to what you're doing as a company, if it's somewhat relative, they'll at least be more interested and more willing to keep consuming information.
Yeah, and going into the hands-on learning, our kids can map out a mirror. They can give them directions to go, and that has sparked their interest in now the Fanics that we get in our shop. They want to hold the teach pendant. So you don't always have to give them something dangerous to play with. They literally will sit on a computer and map out a mirror all day. And many kids would be interested in that. So real world exposure, taking students behind the scenes to witness manufacturing operations firsthand, offering virtual tours or simulations for remote access to manufacturing facilities, and that is a big one if your insurance will not allow younger generations into your shop. Using VR to provide an interactive and informative journey through a manufacturing process.
Yeah, so the virtual experience is something that we can personally do, and as of right now we don't do it too much with students. However, we do it with new hires. So we can bring, we operate very virtually as a company. We have a very remote workforce, and so us as a company, we're very familiar with being in meets, doing screen shares, having simulation softwares open, having the ability to remote into systems, and through that, we can offer that same ability to somebody who just started yesterday. We can give them login access to the robot.
Is to demonstrate that manufacturing careers are attainable, and encouraging students by providing that early dedication to manufacturing can lead to rewarding careers. Promoting gender, racial, and ethnic diversity within manufacturing careers is a big thing. Showcasing relatable journeys to demonstrate that manufacturing careers offering equal access to manufacturing education and opportunities for all students. I think promoting gender is a big deal within companies, especially with getting women interested in manufacturing. I wouldn't be here today if gender roles were not promoted within organizations, and showing that I can do robot programming just as well as Malachi can.
Yeah, I think that like the gender, the racial side of things, like that's a very important, impactful tool that you can utilize, right? People want to see people who they can relate to. Some of the stories that I think have been surfacing in the industry a little bit more recently these past few years is people who came from like very rough upbringings, right? People who've been involved in gangs, been involved with drugs, and have overcome that and become role models in the industry. And that really gives somebody the ability to think that they can actually do this, right? They can actually enter into this sector, that this is a path out of the current life that they have, or just be able to think like, I grew up like that. I'm currently living in that situation. This is the reality. Is I'm currently living in this type of situation. This might be a way that I can get out of the situation that I have no clue that I can get out of, and therefore bringing more individuals into our industry and completely altering people's lives.
Breaking stereotypes through personal experiences. So sharing personal stories to debunk misconceptions and challenge negative stereotypes. Illustrating how modern manufacturing differs from outdated perceptions, and connecting with young people through relatable narratives to change their views about manufacturing.
Yeah, I think this is definitely important. I think that there's more light being shed on it because there's a little bit more marketing initiatives going on in the industry. I would say even like 2 to 5 years ago, manufacturing industry wasn't so much on like social medias. Everything was kind of on their websites or just what people have heard or what they see in movies. That's their perception on what manufacturing is. And now with being able to utilize things like social media and the fact that a lot of these settings are becoming much better, right? They're not that same ugly and dirty work environment where you're thinking about a 1970s stamping facility and where everything it just looks uninviting. It looks like almost like a depressing place to work, right? So if we're able to like show off these different pieces and parts of our organizations that do look good and that are appealing to individuals, then we're going to invite more people into our industry, because that's going to be one of the biggest turnoffs for people wanting to join our industry. And then also another thing I can say as like a biased male, for men entering this industry, there's some men that don't want to enter into this industry because they think there's not women in this industry, right? They want to work in a work environment where they feel like they can be around the opposite sex and be able to, just be able to have a, what do you call it, like a co-relationship with the opposite sex.
Tracking student interest in manufacturing careers. So collecting input from students about their changing perceptions and interests. Monitoring attendance and engagement in manufacturing related events, and tracking the number of students considering manufacturing careers after engagement activities. I do think this is important to an extent. Collecting input from students could be a big deal and could be the deal breaker on whether you get into your local high schools or not. If you do a survey and no one is interested, then maybe you go in and you do a talk and you get people that might be able to relate to, And then you go back and you get their input after that, and then if they are interested, then that would be a time to like work with collaboration or collaborating with the schools.
Yeah, and this is where you can gain valuable insights, right? What if you don't have a very appealing type of company, how can you find out from the students what would make it appealing, right? Anthony Robbins always says this thing. He says, what can we do to make this a 10, right? How do you feel about it right now? Maybe it's a 7, maybe it's a 5, whatever. How can we get it to the next level of whatever this is? How can we get it to a 6? How can we get it to an 8? Maybe there's some things that, 101%, like our company will always be a little bit more appealing than some other companies because just the nature of our type of business, the nature of the type of work we do. However, you can easily take an industry where, everybody in the industry is a 3 or a 4 and take that up to a 7, 8, 9 in the appeal that you're giving to the public and to the younger generation coming into the industry.
Measuring the number of students involved in internships, workshops, and other collaborative efforts. Monitoring trends and participation to gauge program effectiveness and scalability. And benchmarking participation rates against industry averages for continuous improvements is a way to measure impact. Tracking the number of students who pursue manufacturing-related degrees or careers, evaluating the influence of collaborative programs on the manufacturing workforce, and measuring the achievements of program participants as they contribute to the manufacturing industry.
And I feel like this is where the certifications really falls into place, right? You need to be able to measure the achievements of the individuals going through the program, what level of skill set are they reaching by the end of the program, and again, ecosystem. This also then gives the employee the feeling that they're actually growing within an organization.
So overcoming challenges, streamlining collaboration efforts to make the most of limited resources. A prioritization would be identifying key engagement activities that offer the highest impact within available timeframes. And then collaborating with other industry players to share resources and maximize outcomes.
Yeah, so on the prioritization part of this, I kind of spoke on this a little bit before, that what is going to be your highest impact thing that you can do. I think for a lot of companies it is probably social media. It's, you can create a story around your company and blast that across many different channels. We personally, I think we're on every single platform you can be on. I think we're on every single content type you can be on. Whether we show a lot of attention to that or not, it's one other place that somebody can potentially find us. However, we're also not putting in a lot of extra work. I still personally, as CEO of the company, execute a lot of the videos. She executes some of the videos as well. So that way I'm sitting in front of the camera, I record one video, we're getting 50 pieces of content out of that one video. And that way we're able to maximize my time, however still able to have a good impact on the industry.
Bridging the gap between academia and industry. So creating platforms for educators and manufacturers to exchange insights and best practices. Integrating real-world manufacturing concepts into academic programs. And encouraging collaboration between educators, industry experts, and students for holistic learning.
Yeah, I think this is really where we have to be creative and how do we bridge the gap between what's an apprenticeship, what's a college or high school program, and how do we connect these things. This is where every company, this is where it's going to get nitty gritty. Somebody's going to have to go to work and they're going to have to create these initiatives that are going to really connect. It might be something that's very tactical, like create a drive file storage between the two of you, right? Every gap that you can bridge is bringing you guys closer together as being targeted towards one initiative, right? The school is looking to get that kid graduated and into some type of career path. right? You as an employer are looking to employ somebody who already has the skills that you're looking for and can perform and execute on the work that you need them to execute on. Right now, one of the biggest things that we struggle with as a company is, how can I hire you right now if you can't already be applicable to something, right? Which means I can take a high schooler, even in his freshman year of high school, have him in some type of internal training program of ours. In 4 years, at 18 years old, he's much more applicable than somebody who's 25 and has been a machine operator for the past, 7 years, right? And so this is where this becomes very powerful, and there's a win-win for everybody in this ecosystem.
Adapting to evolving technological landscape. So staying updated on the latest manufacturing technologies and trends, designing engagement activities that reflect the skills demanded by emerging technologies, and partnering to ensure education remains relevant in light of technological advancements. Continuous learning and improvement. Soliciting feedback from students, educators, and industry partners to enhance engagement initiatives. Adapting strategies based on the evolving needs and preferences of young people, and comparing outcomes with industry standards to identify areas for improvement. And then scaling up successful models. Expanding effective collaboration models to reach a larger number of schools and students. Allocating necessary resources to support the growth of successful initiatives, and sharing lessons learned and best practices to ensure consistent quality across different implementations.
Yeah, so a couple things on this one. I think, being able to replicate everything I do as a business owner is revolved around how do I scale this. And especially for any organization where they have multiple facilities, especially multiple locations, finding a way to make this repeatable at multiple different locations. Maybe you pilot it at one location first and find something that works, refine it for a year or two, and then go to all your facilities throughout the United States, the world, whatever, and be able to just scale that process, right? And also for some larger companies out there, they should really be thinking on a global scale. There's more things that you could do. We're actually an international company as of right now, and we're already working towards how do we do things like visas? How do we offer like something like that as initiatives to be able to foster somebody's desire to want to join our company? And then going back into the resource planning. I think it's extremely important, because I think what happens with a lot of these initiatives, most of them that I see, there's not enough resources allocated towards it. A lot of times it's one person, it's not a whole department of people, and then they expect it to work. And the reality of the situation is it's like the same as marketing. You can hire a videographer, but it's not the same as hiring a marketing strategist, a videographer, a photo creator, a copywriter. You really need to create a whole division, or at least a team of maybe 5 or 6 people who are at least launching this. Maybe after it's launched, you can sit back and kind of let it operate a little more on autopilot. But the initiating everything, building all the relationships, and really just connecting the dots and making the bridges happen. It's going to take a lot more work up front. And then going back into that, people don't allocate enough resources, therefore they don't see a good result, therefore they quit.
Shaping the future of manufacturing together. So recognizing the joint efforts of manufacturers, educators, and students in shaping the industry's trajectory. Collaborating to ensure manufacturing remains innovative, sustainable, and responsive to changing demands. And encouraging young minds to be part of a transformative industry that advances society and technology.
I think we've touched on this.
I know. So training facilities inside the factories and equipment kits to schools for student training, support programs that expose students to manufacturing and create safe jobs for student internships inside the manufacturing facility of real life hands-on experience. So that really goes into training, creating a safe training inside of your location so you can train people to be what you need them to be in your business.
One thing right here that you can take away, and that's an actual executable thing, is the training kits here, right? There's things that you could tangibly build internally in your company, and then submit that to the college to have the students work on a particular thing. Like a lot of times, a college, or it could be high school as well. I'm speaking mainly on the college, that they almost don't even know what they want for a curriculum. They're kind of like half guessing. This is what they think the industry wants. So if you go in there and I'll say on like PLC programming, right? What do we need as a company? Let's say as far as PLC programming, maybe we have robots and we need a PLC to talk to the robot. You can go to the college and say, hey, look, here's a not a syllabus, but here's a work order packet of like how you can execute like doing this thing. Train your students on this. This is something that we need as a company, and they'll be more than happy to do that. They can fit that into what their curriculum already is. And that's another one of the issues. A lot of the colleges are not really getting it right because they're also not getting enough feedback. They also don't know what the industry needs, and they're still training people on older technologies. I graduated probably a little over 10 years ago, and even then we were still learning like RS-232 communication protocols, which are an older protocol, and today they're still teaching those protocols. However, there's no new piece of equipment that's really going out with that protocol. Maybe there is, but it's like 5% or something. It's very, very less. Everything's going to Ethernet-based communication protocol or some type of Profibus or something along those lines. So the colleges are still teaching antiquated technologies to the students who are graduating today.
Bridging the gap between classrooms and careers, so education tours for students to manufacturing facilities and real life applications. Student counseling about diverse manufacturing careers and their pathways. For example, starting a podcast. Setting up training centers and labs inside the manufacturing facility, also launching certificate programs with schools.
Yeah, and if you don't know this, we have a podcast as well, the Manufacturing Come Up. The whole premise of this podcast is to educate people on the career paths, right? So we're essentially interviewing people on their career path, the different things that they had to go through, all the way from, when they were a young child to where did their interest first peak into this industry, to what were some of the stepping stones that they had to go through to reach the levels they have in their career. And so this, to be honest, is not super directly related to what we do. Like this is not touching any of our customers really. The only version of this that's touching our customer is somebody who watched our video 5 years from now says, hey, I watched the Manufacturing Come Up video and it actually helped me get a job at this place. So there will be some return. However, there's not really a return, right? This is like one of our versions of a give back, and one of our versions of maybe somebody will see that video and say, hey, I want to work for Elite Automation. So this is going to help us with that inbound people wanting to work for us. And overall, just giving back to the industry, giving people a way to navigate the industry, because I think everybody needs help navigating their career and their career path.
Does anyone have any questions at all?
Not really a question, but it's kind of a comment.
Sure.
I like the portion when you talked about like bringing youth and bringing apprenticeship into your facility, like actually asking the questions to your insurance companies, your providers, and other things on whether you can do that.
Yep.
What are the myths, like say with apprenticeship and putting in youth programs? Is like, oh, I can't do that because the feds won't do it or my insurance won't. But you need to ask, like, say, those questions and look into those what-if scenarios versus just off-putting and saying, like, this can't happen because somebody told me 10 years ago it can't happen.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Or maybe, like I said, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
the insurance policy wasn't flexible. They couldn't offer you a custom package, but maybe today they can.
Right.
Yeah, 100% agree.
To that point, you could partner with an institution in your area that doesn't have that problem
Yep.
and host a summer camp. Or like I work for Trying, and we did 13 weeks of summer camp,
Nice.
and each one had a different, whether it was sponsored by Lego or Lilly or someone, and MTI or Steel Dynamics or any of them can sponsor, and it's not a lot of money, but it's a heck of a lot less than paying the insurance premium.
Right, absolutely.
I'll take the risk. You just bring your curriculum and your energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really, like, through those type of partnerships, it's like really just like creating those ecosystems.
Yeah.
I guess if you wouldn't mind, can you elaborate a little bit more on what you do?
So, yeah, sure. I work in career services. So my job at Trine is to build partnerships with people like Malachi. In addition to his point, the reason our curriculums are dated is because none of our professors, almost entirely across the board, were engineers.
Mm-hmm.
They're engineers, but a lot of them went into the field, spent 5, 6, 8 years, didn't learn everything to make them, make their knowledge modern, and decided, okay, now I want to teach because that's what they're comfortable doing. So we are always open to suggestions on how can we improve our curriculum. What programs do you want me to include? Is there a different language that you want us to learn or something? But we don't know you until you come to us, because there's way more of you than there is of me.
Right.
So don't feel like you can't ask.
Absolutely. Yeah, like what you said there's such a gap in like the professors who just spend some years, or maybe they even did do 10 years. However, they did 10 years in industry. It's been 20 since they've been out of it.
Right.
So you see a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm a quality supervisor.
Okay.
And I went to school for IT.
Okay.
But I self-taught myself CMM programming, GD&T, and I would love to hire young people, because I think young people really gravitate to that technology and using computers. Because right now I have to train people, and it can be tough getting people that can really pick it up. But it's such a valuable skill. Like, I could train somebody on CMM programming, and then they could get a job for like $25, $30 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Programming and running CMMs, and it's like you don't have to go to college for that. That's something you could start in high school, learning how to do. I just I don't know how to get my foot in the door to generate interest. I would love to hire more young people. They're just not there.
Right. Do you have the ability to like be involved in the hiring process, or what is that?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say if you have the direct ability to be involved in the hiring process, and maybe you have to get with like your HR individual and see what you can do about getting into the school. There might already be some connection there with the school, and if not, then that's probably one of the best things is a connection be made. And if you're saying, hey, I have this career that pays this dollar amount, and you can go to a school and present that, there's going to be a huge portion of the population that's just kind of looking to how can I make $25+ an hour. Give me the path, I'll do it. I don't care what it is, right?
And there's grant money for small business owners, small to medium business owners, that will allow them to develop those training programs themselves.
Yep. Yeah, that's a very, very important one.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah. There was one other one that was a super big deal. Oh, it's more for businesses. So there's also grants for, let's say, for instance, if you're wanting to automate that you can spend, the government will give you X amount of money to develop new automation projects.
So you talked a lot about risks
Mhm.
in the middle on potentially, even Ray talked this morning about taking risks on people, right? There are programmers that are coming out of high school that are better than some of the programmers that are coming out of my design education program. How do you see that balancing itself out? Jenna's like, oh, I'm glad that's not me.
Yeah, I think that as a society, we probably have some figuring out to do, because I think that the younger generation is going to be smarter and smarter and smarter coming out. And
I mean, with all the STEM initiatives, I have students, I have kids that come in through a STEM program through Michigan or Indiana. Their second semester sophomores, the day they hit campus, are graduating at 23. They've earned all those credits already.
yeah.
So I just wondered if you had insight on as a business owner how you would balance that for you.
I'm a very different business owner. So
Well, yeah.
I personally accept a lot more things than the traditional company would accept. You don't have to have a degree to work for us. Just show me that you're capable. Show me, if I see the characteristics that you're going to be somebody who drives and self-educates, and like the individual that comes in and says, I can do PC programming, and I say, okay, well, where'd you go to school? I say, well, I didn't. That intrigues me more than if he went to school, because he spent his own free time to watch YouTube videos or whatever he did to do this. So he's a self-sufficient educator. So I think that those things are very important, and I think more businesses should take that in mind whenever hiring.
Thank you.
I never thought of it that way. Someone, that's willing to learn on their own. It shows a characteristic that companies want more of. They're starving for those kind of self-motivated, workers. But I think a lot of those kind of people would be turned off by someone that didn't have that formal education background. But the way you're saying it, you're seeing that characteristic within that individual.
Yeah.
And that's actually a valuable characteristic that other companies might not be picking up on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in YouTube University.
Yeah. Oh,
There is.
absolutely. I lost track of what I was going to say. One thing I did learn, with being a business owner, I was even more so, a degree doesn't matter, than I am now. It still doesn't really matter to me. However, now since I've learned that you have to look a little bit more, because there is a difference. Generally, somebody who went and got a degree, they also carry characteristics about them that are going to be a positive that the person who didn't go to college may not have, right? And so, with that individual who didn't go to college, maybe you're going to struggle with them showing up on time. Maybe they think they can sleep in until 10 a.m. and show up to work when they want, or something like that, right? Or calling into work. So there's just things like you have to keep in mind, because we have people on both sides who, have no degrees, and also people who have degrees and 10 plus years of experience in the industry. So, and to be honest, the hiring process, I'm not the best person at the hiring process. I luckily have a few good people on our team that's extremely good at the hiring process. I'm kind of able to sit back and say, does this person fit the desire that I have for our company? Do I feel like they're going to fit our culture and what I'm looking for? For us at Elite Automation, one big thing is we're driven and striving for being the best, and it may be a harder work environment. You may have to work longer hours. However, we want to offer more opportunities. There's still individuals in our company that haven't started today that may start with no degree and be an executive in our company. That's the type of opportunity that I'm presenting to the people coming into our company. However, it's going to be those who work their face off, who put in initiative and just really work for it. Well, if there's no more questions, then thank you everybody for coming out. I appreciate your time. Thank you.